Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaiya. Today we're going to be talking about Attic, which is a heavy metal band from Germany. I'm so excited to talk about this band. I've been wanting to do a video on them for a while. I kind of saved this video for October for spooky season, Halloween, because they fit the bill for that. But Attic, I have an awesome opportunity to see them at the Dead by Dawg festival in June in 2025. If you are not familiar with Dead by Dawg, it is the first festival that Justin Horval from Hell's Headbangers is going to be putting on. You may know him as Dawg from his YouTube channel.
Sup, Devils? Dawg back to answer more goddamn questions.
I'll link it down below, as well as like festival tickets if you're interested in going. His channel is awesome. He gives a lot of really great recommendations and crushes a lot of posers like myself. So definitely go and support his channel and support HHR. They're awesome. I have some stickers and a flyer to kind of show you Dead by Dawg. This is the little sticker that he gave me. Super cute. There's some awesome bands playing at this festival. As I said, this is the first Dead by Dawg Fest that Justin Horval is putting on. So you see Attic is right there. You also have Evil Army, Rotten UK. You also have Profanatica. You have Malignancy and the Lurking Corpses, and you have, I believe it's Regurgitation, if I'm reading their logo correctly. But this is happening June 21st, 2025. $55 to get in, and it is in Youngstown, Ohio. So I'm really excited to go. I'm so excited to see Attic because from my understanding, I think Justin said this is like the second time that they've ever played in the US, which is crazy. But this is the little flyer. Look at Justin there. Isn't that awesome? So I'm really excited to be checking that out. And yeah, I just wanted to shout out Dawg, Dead by Dawg Fest, and of course talk about Attic because they are an extremely talented heavy metal band that you need to listen to and have on your radar. If you are a fan of King Diamond, bestie, let me tell you, Attic is going to give you that King Diamond fix while we wait for his new quote unquote album, which may or may not come. We don't know. He's finally touring again in the US. We will see if the King returns with, I believe it's the Institute is what he's planning on calling this new album. I don't know. We'll see. But Attic is extremely talented, and they are considered to be one of the closest comparisons vocally to King Diamond. And so the power behind this band is Meister Cagliostro, who is the vocalist of the band. And I'm telling you, girl, it's identical to the talent of King Diamond. I have not heard a single male vocalist that has come even close to what King Diamond can deliver except for Meister Cagliostro. So I definitely encourage you to listen to them. I'm going to be talking about all three of their albums today, showing off all of their physical media. We're going to get into a little bit of the background of this band, and then we're going to talk about the music. So without further ado, let's talk about Attic. So Attic is a heavy metal band from Germany who are considered to be the closest vocal comparison to King Diamond himself. While this comparison is true, many stylistic choices make Attic different in their own special way. The band was formed in 2010 by original members Kat and Rob on electric guitar, Warrior on bass, Tormentor on drums, and the power behind the band, the vocalist Meister Cagliostro. Attic would eventually add Roman on drums after Tormentor's early departure in 2011. Attic began releasing music sometime in 2012 with a self-titled demo and a split called Satan's Bride, Ghost of Dublin, at which point another early lineup change would occur when Christopher Erdman would replace Warrior on bass. This brings us to the release of Attic's debut album titled The Invocation, which was released December 7th, 2012. The Invocation features 10 tracks and a runtime of 47 minutes. Some of the tracks on this debut were featured on the self-titled demo, including The Hidden Grave, Funeral in the Woods, and The Headless Horseman. The Hidden Grave is the opening track and one of the 2 instrumentals that feature session keyboardist Darren McCourt. Second song being In the Chapel, which is placed in the middle of the album at track 6. As I said, we're going to be talking about the LPs. I'm going to first show off the Invocation. I'm going to have some B-roll just kind of unpacking the actual vinyls so you can see it a little better. But this is Attic's debut record, and if you do decide to purchase these albums, you should know that they are absolutely beautiful. The packaging and the presentation of every single one of these vinyls I'm going to show you today, these gatefolds, really, I should say, it's just spectacular. It's so well put together. Everything is very on brand. There's nothing that feels like cheap to the packaging. Everything seems very well thought out. So if you enjoy the sound of Attic and you do collect vinyls, I would highly encourage you to at least look at these vinyls in this video and contemplate purchasing some of them, because they are honestly like the highest quality gatefolds that we have in our collection, and that's a hard and tall order, okay, girl? But once you see the box set we have, you're gonna understand. You're gonna understand why. You see our little cult member and the lady on the table, and then on the back you get this like closer overhead angle of the table without the lady and the cult member, and it just has like the blood and the chalice, which I just thought was really cool. I think that that's like an interesting angle. I don't know, it's a cool little detail. But this is a thick daddy. Like, look at that, girl. I mean, that's like you could fan yourself with this in the summertime, okay? Like, this is high quality paper, thick cardstock. And the photographs in this booklet are so beautiful and very crisp, very clean. My one complaint is some of them are a little dark, just a little bit. There's a lot of black ink being used on this paper, but that's really my only complaint with the booklet. Otherwise, everything is very nice. It's very high quality. I feel like you can read the font really well on the booklet pages. The other complaint, which you will kind of see with some of the other booklets, is the font choice. So Attic likes to use this very old-timey kind of English font, and sometimes the letters look different than what they're supposed to. So for example, the S's for this particular record look like F's. So Ghost of Orphanage looks like Goft, but it's still beautiful. And the band photo itself is gorgeous. So I really love this band photo. Total vibe, very on brand. This vinyl also does come with a really nice poster. We don't ever put the posters up on the wall, but we just keep them in the gatefold, you know. But here's one side of the poster. You get the album cover, of course, and then you get that band photo that's featured like in the gatefold. And then on the back of the poster you do have the band logo, and then Maester Cagliostro kind of just at the center fold of it. So very cool. And I like how there's 2 sides of it, so you can kind of pick which side you want rather than just like one photo on one side and then it's just a blank white, you know, on the other. And then of course the vinyl. Everybody wants to see what the vinyl looks like, and I gotta tell you, she's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Kind of this like muddy army green. I don't know, something with algae. Kind of makes me think of like stagnant water or something like that. Okay, so now let's talk about the music for the Invocation. As I said, this is the debut album from Attic, and the things that you need to know about this record is atmosphere first and foremost. So the songs on this record are perfect for spooky season, fall, Halloween. I mean, it is absolutely the best of like Them and Conspiracy from King Diamond. It's that kind of vibe. So there's not really a concept necessarily with this record, but you definitely get that like fall season change, like the weather's getting a little cooler, you know, like this is a perfect record for you to just like put on and jam. The leaves are falling, you're putting on sweaters, you know, it's right before Halloween. That's why I waited until October, because it's that kind of atmosphere. It's a little chilling, and it's just perfect for this time of year. So other things that kind of hint around to that atmosphere is the use of the instrumentals and painting the kind of vibe and atmosphere of this record. So you've got church organ instrumentals that are used here with loads of reverb on many of Meister Cagliostro's vocals, as well as some sound effects here and there that kind of give you that mystery vibe. So as I said, this album does feature church organ instrumentals. You see this with track 1, The Hidden Grave. Really love church organs. I'm obsessed with that sound. It reminded me so much of Midnight Priest's Aggressive Hauntings album, which if you haven't heard that record, you absolutely should, because it's a bop and a half, like an actual bop and a half, and it's perfect for Halloween and like November fall season. It's awesome. Absolutely go listen to that after you watch this video. But it has a kind of church organ instrumental, and it's I'm obsessed with the church organ. So how many times do I have to say that? Funeral in the Woods is the second track. This starts us off with Meister Cagliostro's high vocals. You have tons of heavy metal riffage in this album, and it's just very, very catchy. There's catchy melodies here, catchy riffs, dual guitar tones, and as I said, loads of reverb on many of Meister Cagliostro's vocals. And it's a little bit more of a raw sound, just a tad. Like, it's polished, yes, but there's kind of this rawness to it that is not featured in Sanctimonious, which is their second album that we will get into. My favorite songs off of this album is the track Edlin. This is kind of like a slower jam song. It's a beautiful, vibey, slow jam, very unexpected in context to the rest of the album, but it is very much an epic ballad when you're listening to it. I love the guitar tone in that track, and the drums sound huge and massive. Like I said, in comparison to the rest of the album, when this song comes on, it's epic and it's huge, and I love it. There's also acoustic guitar that's featured in the verses here. Very much a huge sound, very much heavy, and a dynamic track, absolutely. And there's also different characters that Meister Cagliostro was doing vocally. You know how King Diamond does many different vocals, either like ghouls, or he'll do like the super high falsetto for like a woman. It's that kind of vibe for this record as well. Like Meister Cagliostro is very good at doing different voices for different characters and different events that are happening in this record. You do have a really nice mix of his high falsettos and his great lows. He's just got such a wide range, and there were no moments where I felt like it was a little flat or where he was struggling. Like every single note that he hit, whether it was in his lower head voice, lower range, or whether it was a high falsetto, it had a lot of power to it. It had a lot of strength and a lot of confidence, which I think is something that some people don't realize. You kind of have to have a lot of confidence in yourself, and like you have to think about the note first, and like think about where you're gonna place it in your throat before you do it. And yeah, Meister is just a very talented vocalist. I'm still very impressed that a man, honestly, I'm gonna be honest here, I'm so impressed that a man can do high vocals like that, because I can't do high vocals like that, girl. Not even if you kicked me in the cooter could I hit a high note like that, okay? And it's very impressive still to this day. I also really like the next track, Ghost of the Orphanage. It's one of my favorite songs off the records. It features these like oohs in the post-chorus, which is one of my favorite bits. That's another thing that's featured on this record, as well as the other ones too, is there's a lot of like choral elements here. Now it's, you know, a lot of oohs and a lot of ahs. A lot of the times it's really it sounds more like it's like a keyboard layer, you know, and less of like an actual choir. But then Meister is just such a talented vocalist that he uses so many different, you know, voices and different levels, different tones to make it sound like an actual choir layered on top of the keyboard choir, if that kind of makes sense. And when I mentioned that there were sound effects that helped build the ambience of this record, you do have that in track 8, The Headless Horseman. There's horse hooves that you can hear galloping on the track, which is just kind of cool. It really kind of paints this vibe of this like old-timey 1800s style church that's like haunted, and I don't know, it's just very like chilling. And then the final track too, Evil Inheritance. This one also really helped shine a light on Meister's voice as well. He does this really beautiful, deep, operatic vocal, and it's kind of unexpected. It's very nice. It's a nice, rich tone, but it's like placed like, whoa, I can't do it because of my, because I'm still recovering from getting my wisdom teeth out, so I can't do it, but like, it's so low. I don't know how he does it, but it's a beautiful, round, operatic kind of sound, and I just really like it. It's a beautiful song for his voice, and I just think it's great. Production wise, this record is very balanced. Meister's voice is very high in the mix. Some people kind of complained about that on Metal Archives. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. You can still hear everything in the mix. Like I said, it has a little bit more of a raw edge to it than Sanctimonious, but overall it's a very nice, balanced record. And also like Meister's voice is the main dish of our feast here, that is the Invocation, right? It's like, it's the same thing with any King Diamond record. It's like, you know, King Diamond's vocals, that's the main thing, right? So it's the same thing with this. So the other comparison kind of with Merciful Fate and King Diamond is the writing style. I mean, there's a lot of things that Attic is writing about that's kind of similar to what King Diamond does. He writes a lot about, you know, cults and culty actions, satanic activities, witches and rituals. You also have some supernatural elements to, you know, spooky Halloween. It's chilling fall, spooky Halloween, just like all of the good stuff. All the good stuff that you want in this kind of like heavy metal atmosphere, you get with the Invocation. So after the release of their debut, The Invocation, Attic wouldn't release their sophomore album until 5 years later. During this small hiatus, Attic would go through yet another lineup change with their drummer. It's always the drummer, where Roman would end up leaving the band sometime after the release of their debut record. JP would step in as Attic's new drummer in 2013. Attic would then go on to release their sophomore album, Sanctimonious, on August 18th, 2017. All right, let's talk about Sanctimonious. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, this is my favorite album from Attic, like by far. If I had to pick an album from their discography for you to start with, it would be Sanctimonious. So this record, which again I'm going to show you some b-roll of it so you can kind of see it better. This album is a concept record, so there will be spoilers. I don't know if you care about this, but there will be spoilers to the story that's in this record, so just be aware of that. But if you're looking at this album cover and you're like, that kind of reminds me of something, it took me a minute to realize that it reminds me a lot of Merciful Fate's Nuns Have No Fun cover. Now, obviously, I think the connection here is really just with the art style, the black and white art style that's used here, because it's not necessarily the same kind of texture, if that makes sense, but it's kind of the same art style in a way. Sanctimonious would feature some familiar faces that were also used on the Invocation, those being German artist Marcus Vesper as the cover artist and Chris Menning, also known as Mercis, as their record producer and engineer. And if that name doesn't ring a bell, that's okay, because Mercis' most notable appearances, in my opinion, is his drum work in Destroyer 666. I've mentioned on my channel how much I love Destroyer 666, and I highly recommend you listen to at least their debut record, Unchain the Wolves, although admittedly that album does not feature Mercis on it. Lastly, we also see instrumentals from Darren McWhorlt, again, making another appearance, helping with the ambient church organ sound effects and other ambient sounds on this album. So now let's talk about the packaging for Sanctimonious real quick. I will let you know that this is quite a long album. Because it is a concept album, there is going to be more material here. There's going to be more content. So it is a double LP. The runtime is just a little bit over an hour. It's like an hour and 5 minutes long. This is an album that you want to put on and sit with, listen to it front to back. This is an experience. This record is something that you want to put on when you're feeling a little spooky, when you are like cleaning your house, when you want to vibe, when it's maybe raining outside. This is a total like chill, take me out of where I'm at, take me on a journey type of album. It's perfect for that kind of escapism. And if you read the booklet along with it, it's a really nice experience. So for the packaging of Sanctimonious, you do get everything that was featured in the Invocation. So you do get the 2 vinyls, you get the poster, and you get a gorgeous booklet. So let's of course look at the poster first. Super high quality, nice crisp pictures. It is more of a, it kind of gives you a couple options here, which I really like. So you do get the vertical cover option, so you get the band logo and then you get the actual album cover, and then they give you a horizontal option, which is just such a nice choice. It's such a nice piece of detail because sometimes you just want a horizontal poster, so they give you the option, which I really like. So they give you this dope ass band photo of them in front of a church, and I just think that's great. I mean, like I said, they have quality in mind when they're thinking about their packaging for these records. And then of course for the booklet, she's another thick daddy. I mean, look at that, I'm telling you, fanning yourself in the summertime. You got some really nice cardstock. This is by far my favorite booklet. I mean, this is my favorite album. So in every single way, the booklet itself is much easier to read. It is black font on white paper, so of course easier to read than the choice of the yellow font on black paper, right? You do still get that like old English text font, which again can be a little bit tricky to read depending on the person, but I will say because it's black font on white paper, it's much easier to read and kind of follow along with the story. It may seem like a very nitpicky thing, but a lot of people want to be able to read the lyrics, especially for a concept record that like this, for example. You want to be able to read the story along with the music and follow along. It's like reading a book, right? So we're allowed to be a little nitpicky here, but I will say it's much easier to read, and the photos that are featured in this booklet are more sketches. They're black and white drawings instead of the like real life photographs that were featured in the Invocation. So you do get these gorgeous hand-drawn kind of sketches, and then of course you get the band photo that was featured on the poster of them in front of the church. You get that in the middle of the booklet. This is just a gorgeous vinyl. It's got the kind of cloudy gray and black marble style. So you can see one side says Attic Sanctimonious, and then the other is kind of this like cult like symbol. Very high quality, very nice, just gorgeous vinyl. It kind of makes me think of like this is very random, but you know when you order like an Oreo milkshake, you know, from a place, and then you finish it, this is like the color of like what's at the bottom of your like finished Oreo milkshake, right? Am I making you want ice cream right now? Because I kind of want ice cream myself. Okay, so let's talk about Sanctimonious, the music. So as I mentioned earlier, Sanctimonious is an experience that you want to listen to front to back. This is something that you, at least the first listening experience you have with this record, you want to put it on, sit with it, and just experience it like you would a movie or a horror novel. You know, this is absolutely something that you want to follow along with the story and just get into that kind of like fall chilling vibe, because it's so fun and it's such a good story. Like, it's actually a really good story. So I will be spoiling sort of what kind of happens, but the concept behind Sanctimonious is it's about a group of nuns that end up going through some tragic events after one member, Margaret, goes batshit crazy. So it kind of literally is the definition of like nuns not having any fun, right? So the first track off this album is in Latin. It is Ludicium Dei or Ludicium D. Don't judge me for my pronunciation, but that translates from Latin to God's judgment in English. And as I said, this is an instrumental that is so hauntingly beautiful and chilling. Like, I actually got goosebumps when I was listening to it. It's very unsettling and beautiful, but there's these like vocal melodies that he's doing. It kind of sounds like a choir. It's like these ahs, these staccato ahs that he's delivering, and it's just such a perfect intro to this record. It really paints the atmosphere. Like I said, it's an experience. It's very chilling. Then immediately we get into the title track, Sanctimonious, which is kind of cool because for the Invocation, the title track was somewhat later in the album. And with this album, it just is like literally the first track that introduces us into the album. And it's not necessarily a slow burn, but it doesn't give you everything. It's very much like just a little stepping stool, so it kind of introduces a little bit, but you know that it's about to get even more intense after this. So it's just giving you a taste of what this record is going to sound like. Maester Cagliostro is exploring a lot more of his lower range in this record, which, like I said, is them giving you a taste. So it's almost like they're holding back just a little bit, but it was really nice to be able to hear his lower range introduce us. And the first thing I noticed right off the bat with this record was that it is heavier and just way bigger in sound than the Invocation. So remember when I said the Invocation had a little bit more of raw edge, a little bit more of this raw sound to it? You don't get that with Sanctimonious, and it's not a bad thing. It's such a polished record in the best way possible. It's beautiful, it's big, it's huge. Like, this record is mastered in a way that, you know, even on a low volume setting, it's still going to like blast you. It's still gonna be a powerhouse of a record, and I really enjoyed that. It's definitely more aggressive and definitely sounds beefier than the Invocation. So for the story, this is the first track that kind of gets us introduced to the first two nuns. As I said, it's like a group of nuns that were kind of following along with. So the first two nuns that we were introduced to are Margaret, the batshit crazy one, and Joan. So we're kind of just introduced to them. There's a little bit of dialogue there. Then we get into track 3, A Serpent in the Pulpit. This was a little bit of a slower song in comparison to the first track, I guess you could say. There's a lot of, again, choral style vocals here. You get a lot of O's and oohs throughout this record that are heavily layered with many different vocal harmonies and lots of reverb. The song specifically, there's an acoustic guitar instrumental at the outro, and it like pivots into this drum solo, and the tone of the drums, chef's kiss. It's fire. It's fire. And I love that there's this line that follows that section called, "And so you're given to God." I swear it's so heavy in the moment. It's so heavy in the moment. And that's the other thing too, is there's a lot of lyrics on this record that just go hard, dude. Like, they're bars. For the song track 4, Penalized, which is a song that we really realize that Margaret's a real crazy bitch, but there's a line that goes, "Down on your knees, you will bleed," and it's so hard in the moment. It's really, really good. And that's the other thing too I kind of want to mention with the story, is the way the lyrics are like laid out. Is you have the character, so it'll be like Margaret and then colons, and then it'll have like her lyrics, like what she's saying, and that's just what Meister Cagliostro was singing. So he doesn't say Margaret and then like what she's saying. It's just like, you know, her dialogue is just kind of being sung. So it's really cool, and that's why I say it's important to read along with the booklet while you're listening to it, so you can really hear the story and get the full listening experience, you know. There's also great solos through this, twangy bright guitars. Y'all get the gist. Basically, Margaret is a real piece of work on this record. Real piece of work. And it escalates. Like, every single song, it like escalates more. But there is a twist. There is a twist to the story. I won't spoil the twist, because I think you should experience this record and kind of see for yourself. But it's very good. And once you get to the final track 13, There Is No God, the twist is great. But before the final track, we do get A Quest for Blood, which is track 8. This is another interlude, very hauntingly beautiful. I swear the interludes for this record are very chilling and very haunting in comparison to the Invocation, which had more of that like fun Halloween vibe to it, you know, the banana, banana, that kind of like fun church organ vibe. This is more chilling. This is definitely more on the like thrilling horror side than it is on like the fun Halloween side. So the other thing I forgot to mention is that in the gatefold, when you open it up, there's actually a map of the church, so you can see each room that's kind of in this church of this story. It's so much like, you know, if you read Game of Thrones, how there's like a map of their entire world. It's a map of the entire story. You've got the churchyard, the orchard, you've got the cellar, you have a warming house, like you have all of this stuff, an apothecary. Like, it's crazy how much detail they put into this record. And so that is what's so cool about the instrumental atmosphere that they're painting for this, is that it's all set in a church. You know, you're following around this group of nuns. It's all in this church. So track 11, Dark Hosanna, it has that big cathedral vibe to it that kind of helps the story. Massive reverb on vocals. It just sounds beautiful. Like, there's so many songs on here that just really kind of paint this choral cathedral kind of vibe. And then you have Born from Sin. This has a really funny sound to it. So there's this gasp after this line, grabbed her neck and choked her, and it's kind of a goofy sound. So if you've listened to Them by King Diamond, when the teapot breaks, and I think it's King who like strangles, or it's Missy who strangles the grandmother, or something. Somebody gets strangled after the teapot breaks, and there's this like gagging, choking sound that King, you know, does in the record to make you feel like you're watching this happening, you know. It's the same type of situation with this record. So during this line, it is Alice who's trying to choke Margaret, and you hear this kind of like choking, gagging sound, which is, it's very goofy, but I like it. It's kind of a goofy sound, but it works. It definitely works. I won't spoil the ending for you, so there's a little bit of mystery, but this whole album is so good for Halloween. This album is an experience that you must listen to front to back, as I said, because there's just so much detail to the story. I mean, there's a whole map of the church, girl, and there's like characters that you learn about, and you learn that you just know them on a first name basis, but at least it's like this kind of personal connection that you are like learning about each of these. You're just learning about them. There's this personal connection between you and the characters, and you care about them. And I was shocked by the twisted ending. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm reading like a horror novel. So I love the story. I love the instrumentation. Sanctimonious is by far my favorite record by Attic, and it is absolutely the first one that I would recommend that you listen to if it's your first time checking them out. I give it honestly a 9 out of 10. After 7 years, we finally get a brand new Attic album called Return of the Witchfinder, which was released on April 5th, 2024. Unlike the previous 2 albums, Return of the Witchfinder would be recorded at Hellforge Studios in Germany, with Marco Brinkman as the engineer and producer for the record. This 3rd album is shorter than Sanctimonious by a little bit, coming in at 10 tracks and 50 minutes. So we're going to check out the box set, which I do have right here. But we're going to check out the box set which was created by a new artist. His name is Daniel Valeriani. The art book that came with this box set was created by Misanthropic Art, and the photography was done by Anne Krajewski, I think. Don't judge me on the pronunciation. But this is the box set. It kind of reminds me of the Deicide box set, which I did show on my Metal Monday live stream, but I will also show in my Deicide deep dive that's coming up. But this is the box set, and this is honestly one of the best box sets that we have in our entire collection. So the presentation of this box set is just really out of this world. You can just tell that Attic really cared about the presentation, the experience of the person who was receiving this vinyl. And it is the first box set where we actually got a copy of the album in every form of physical media, which I have not seen personally. So we did get a vinyl, a cassette, and a CD. So super, super cool. But I'm absolutely obsessed with the album cover. Again, this is their 3rd album, Return of the Witchfinder. I mean, look at the red, how freaking vibrant that is in comparison to everything else. It looks very dark, very ominous and mysterious. And then, of course, you see the lone rider on the back, which, you know, this is another concept record, which we'll get into in just a little bit. So along with the other 2 albums, you do get a couple posters. So you do get one kind of vertical poster, vertical and horizontal poster. So just like Sanctimonious, you do get a band photo with the band's logo in the horizontal format, and then you also get the album cover in the vertical format with the band logo. Very nice and solid colors, and a crisp picture too that you can see. It has a lot of just album artwork. I believe all of this artwork is used in the actual booklet. So this is yet another poster, all of the album art from the booklet, and then it does have a black background. So another just like cool little personal touch Did we have to have a second poster? Not really. Honestly, I don't. I mean, and kind of nitpicky, I don't think that this necessarily adds anything now that I'm thinking about it. But it's not a bad thing. This is very high quality. I mean, very nice cardstock, very nice pictures. But as you can see, red letters, black paper. We're going to revisit this. I know. Leave it to me to be, the one that kind of is a little nitpicky. So underneath the vinyl, which we're saving for last, we do get this dope ass patch, which we haven't done anything with yet. I might put this on my battle vest after I see them. I don't know. We'll kind of see. But I kind of like just having it in the box set as like a whole presentation. But again, this is the first box set we've ever gotten that comes with a patch as well. So that's super cool. And then of course you have the CD and the cassette. So I haven't even opened up either of these because we have just again been saving it for the presentation. But you do get this CD and you get the cassette, and it just looks like it's on a black cassette, which is fine. Now here's my biggest complaint, and Attic, if you're watching this, I say this with so much love in my heart, okay? So much love, big fan. Please don't ever do red font on black paper with this New England text ever again. It's very difficult to read when you're in just like a normal lit room. And if you're thinking I'm being harsh, bestie, you do it, okay? I had to go up to a lamp and look at it like that. Even now I have to, look at that, girl, okay? You can't read that. Ain't nobody got time to read it like that, okay? And I say that with so much respect because I get it. It looks fire. Like presentation wise, this looks amazing. It's totally on brand, especially in comparison to the other two albums. So you're not necessarily doing anything wrong by doing it this way. It's just very difficult to read. But the art style is gorgeous. And if it was like white font, I feel like it might be a little bit easier to read. But you do get the New England text. So there are a couple letters that are a little bit difficult to read. My one issue with this, and I say it with so much love, is I want to follow along with the story because this is a concept record. So I love to read the lyrics and follow along with the story as we're listening to the album. So I did miss out on some of the story, honestly, because I just couldn't read the text. And unfortunately, there's not any lyrics really for this record yet on Metal Archives. So you just kind of miss out a little bit. But the centerfold picture is gorgeous. It's basically a larger picture of like what's on the front there where the witch is burning. So you get some really gorgeous artwork. It's kind of similar to, it's kind of like a similar vibe to like the art style of the Invocation and Sanctimonious, but combined and in red and black. So you get those like hand-drawn photographs like you got with Sanctimonious, but it's on black paper like the Invocation. So it's a little bit darker and mysterious and that type of thing. The vinyl itself is a blood red. It's kind of this like, it's not ox blood, but it's this bright, fiery cherry red, like in person, like up against the light. It's super bright and red, and it just looks very mysterious. It's got some black swirls in there, so it is just very mystical, kind of like a ruby red almost. Super gorgeous. It is just one vinyl. This is, like I said, a shorter record than Sanctimonious, so it's at 50 minutes, so they were able to fit all of their content on just one vinyl, which is nice. So now let's talk about the music on Return of the Witchfinder. As I said, this is Attic's second concept record. So as far as I understand, the concept of this record is kind of split into 2 to 3 plots, 2 to 3 storylines, and it's actually very interesting. So on the vinyl, you have it split up as side A actually being called Witches. So it's literally called side Witches, and then on side B, instead of it saying side B, it says side Demons. And so you have the first half of the record following along these witches. So you have a couple interactions with witches kind of doing witchy things, you know, and then you have some witches like being burned and just like a few other just like witches that were following along, right? There's not really a personal connection that we're making with this story, and I think that's my one complaint with the story. Now there's probably going to be a ton of you that are like, who the hell cares about the story? Like, we care about the music, right? Which is fair, totally fair. But if you're going to make a concept record, the story I think is just as important as the music, right? If you're going to go through the effort of writing an entire album with a story behind it, then the story is just as much as important as the music at the end of the day, in my opinion. The first side, Witches, is about a variety of witches. So we're kind of following along these like different witches. We're being introduced to different characters. They're witches doing witchy things, right? And then side B, Demons, is about obviously supernatural things and entities that are happening involving Balberith. He's a really strong character on side B, sacrificing and things of that nature, having rituals and things like that. So we're definitely more on the like demonic supernatural side with side B, whereas we're more focused on witches doing witchy things and witch trials and stuff like that on side A. Now what's interesting about this story is the third plot, and as far as I'm concerned, I think I'm right about this, but there's a third person that kind of is floating around on both sides of this record, and it's this little dude here, and he's like, he's like a lost traveler. He's like a Western cowboy, like witch hunter, Witchfinder or something, and he is just like this lone wolf that's kind of hunting down these witches or hunting down these demons. As I said, there's some of the story that I couldn't totally read because of some of the font, but he makes an appearance on both sides, and he's kind of just doing his own thing as these crazy rituals and things are happening in this universe that are being painted, which is a very cool concept. Super, super cool. So I definitely like the layout of this story. I like how it's demons and witches instead of A and B. So the detail, again, is extremely prevalent in this record for sure. But that being said, this is my least favorite record, and that was the most disappointing thing, I think, for me. Now obviously this is 100% my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. Experience this record on your own time if you like it. I would still suggest you do Sanctimonious first, but I do love the concept. Think it's a weak album. So this record is still following along with that eerie vibe. It's a very eerie, chilling, thrilling record. It's definitely more dark and mysterious, but following up Sanctimonious is very difficult. And now I did take like a small lunch break after listening to Sanctimonious and then threw this on, and it was very obvious that this record was just weak in comparison, in my opinion. First off, the mixing and the production, the volume of the entire album was definitely lower than Sanctimonious. Like, I actually had to turn up this record a little bit more. Like, Sanctimonious was just loud and proud in a good way, and this I just had to turn up a little bit. Just a little minor things like that. Production is different for every single album, right? Some albums are going to be louder than others, right? But the overall atmosphere is still kind of the same as the other records. As I said, eerie. Track 1, The Covenant, has beautiful eerie strings and kind of this like whispering opening. So I really like the use of strings instead of like the church organ, because I feel like we spent so much time in a haunted church kind of atmosphere with the Invocation and Sanctimonious, and now this is very woodsy and it's very witches and demons in this haunted village kind of atmosphere. It's perfect for Halloween. These are all perfect for Halloween, but that's kind of the vibe. Is like this feels very much more outdoorsy, villagey, like woods type of thing. Darkest Rites, track 2, we talk about witches and Satan. I thought the instrumentals were good, vocals were good, of course. It just doesn't sound as big, and honestly there weren't a lot of tracks that really grabbed me, especially like track 3, Hailstorm and Tempest. I thought it sounded good, but it was just okay. It didn't really grab me. I was just still so hooked on Sanctimonious and so in love with that record that it definitely was obvious to me that it wasn't as strong. The Thief's Candle is by far the weakest track in Addict's entire discography, by far, which is unfortunate. This song was really, really just dragging. It dragged a lot. I really liked the lead riff at the beginning, but it drags. The solo I did like, but it felt very short. And as I said, it's their weakest song in their discography, very much a nothing burger song that doesn't offer anything to the record or the story, really. So it starts to pick up when we get to track 5 with the title track, Return of the Witchfinder. There's a blood-curdling scream at the beginning of this, which I thought was very unsettling and super cool. Like I said, paints the atmosphere very, very well. But this song is all about burning witches, and we're kind of ending side A on like burning these people that were causing all these problems or whatever. And I really like it because at the end of it we hear these witches screaming as the song fades, and there's like fire noises and everything. So it's again something that you can very clearly visualize, and it's very open space, open outdoor space, village type of thing. And then we get to side B, track number 6, Offerings to Balberith. This is of course the demons side. Kind of a chill opening to begin with, but I liked this song. So we were talking about offering, like these people offering themselves to Balberith. So in the story, these people had to basically throw themselves into this fire pit. And the lyrics for this record are still very good, at least the ones that I could read. The lyric for this particular section was, "Treasures of wisdom are locked inside. Take them, he will only take your life, only your life." So basically it's, this voice trying to manipulate these followers, saying treasures of wisdom are locked inside this fire pit. So if you sacrifice your life, if you fall into this fire pit, treasures of wisdom will be unlocked for you. All you're swapping is your life, all you're trading for is your life, which was kind of a really cool concept to kind of think about in context to this story. I really liked that line, and yeah, it was just kind of scary. Kind of a scary concept. I don't know, it was cool. It reminded me a lot of Thulsa Doom from Conan the Barbarian, if you've seen that movie. Thulsa kind of had this manipulative power over these people, where he could just make them like fall off a cliff or whatever. So it was kind of the same eerie concept, but the rest of the album is just kind of okay, honestly. There was some strong choruses here. You do get some church organ instrumentals with their instrumental track Up in the Castle. That's track number 8. But otherwise, it's okay. It's an okay album. Good, not great. I do think the instrumentals were good. There was some like new wave of British heavy metal vibes in there a little bit, but honestly there wasn't really anything that caught my attention or really made it stick very well for me, because Sanctimonious is just that good. Sanctimonious is just that queen. I'm going to be honest. So I do like the story, but not as much as Sanctimonious, because again, I felt like it was more of a personal experience with the nuns. However, of course, that being said, I like the way that the story was kind of thought out with the witches and the demons and this ghost rider that's kind of floating around, you know, as a back end plot to the story. That is very unique. That is very cool. And to me, that shows a lot of artistry, and that's something that I can definitely respect and get behind, regardless of how I feel about the music necessarily. So I do think this is pretty good, but it's not my favorite, so I did give it a 7 out of 10. Still pretty strong, but yeah, they just have better. Sanctimonious is just a better record. So overall, I really, really love Attic. This is a very, very talented band, and I highly recommend that you listen to them. They're extremely talented. Their albums are very fun, perfect for spooky season, perfect for Halloween, fall time coming, Halloween. They're also great for like December time when the snow's falling, or just when you want to feel spooky in the summertime. They're good for all the time. I mean, they're just a fun band. And so I, of course, like I said, would say start with Sanctimonious. Take my word with a grain of salt, though. Definitely check out Return of the Witchfinder if you find it something that is more up your boat, because like I said, the production is still good, the instrumentals are still good, but it's just not as strong as Sanctimonious. But the Invocation is also a really great debut, a really strong starter as well. As I said, it's got that raw edge to it. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I will have links to all of their vinyls if you're interested, and just like where you can purchase these if I can find them. It'll kind of depend, because some of these might be out of print. I'm not totally sure, but I will have them linked down below in my description. So if you're interested, you can go check that out. And of course, if you are interested in going to the Dead by Dog Fest, which is being hosted by Justin Horval, then I will have links to his channel and links to his festival, so you can pick up a ticket for yourself. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, you guys.